to Brandon Smith sitting on that top spot. That second transfer spot going to the Special K on that 222 bike. And the 127 of Roca picking up that third transfer spot in 77.
Radio.
Big been dope on flame, I just switched the lanes. Damn, he did it again, I just flipped the pain. Stripping and dipping in bass, slab on everything. Swimming, you sinking away, cause I got big racks coming. I put my low racks on it. I ain't skip past losses, I had to get back off it. See the fit lab on it until they whip my coffin. Money clip, I tossed it, I heard it's big bags on big bags on big bags coming, coming in. Yeah, flex, I just wanna win.
of Jacob Farmer sitting on that number 1. I got that 7-7. I see him from a mile away. I like that. That's going to be Nadler with the big old plate sitting on that number 2. And a Gold Cup 1 of the Red Mongoose sitting on that 3rd transfer spot, heading on out of 77. 78, 26, 35 intermediate. Heading into that last turn right now. We're looking for the top 4. It looks like 4 of them coming around that turn right now. On that number 1, that's going to be that 32 bike. The 32 bike followed up. The Napoli followed up by the 1, the 3. Dominique Napoli getting that number 1. That 32. That Valdez getting that number 2. That 3 bike going to Sparks. 79 is the motor number 41, 45 intermediate. Looking for the top 3. Bennett, Palmer, Avery, and Whirl coming down. That's going to be the top 3 going on out. That's 164 of Bennett sitting on that number 1. I got that 90 bike of Palmer. And look who it is. It's going to be that 69 bike of Jason Avery for Damaged Inc. going on into the main event. Motor number 80, 51 and over intermediate total points. We got Hippie Steve, Wispeski, Joey Cassidy, and Kilbillis. David Kubillis, that's going to be on that top spot. Cassidy on that 48 bike. It's going to be Cassidy taking that number 1. My man, Pork Roll and Cheese, Hippie Steve picking up that number 2. And Kubillis picking up that number 3. 81 is the motor number 7 girls expert. We are into the girls class right now. Motor number 81 coming in and out of that last turn. We're looking for the top 2. It's going to be Bruni, Vicky G, and Callie Kolpeski. That's going to be the Nag 3 of Kolpeski sitting on that number 1, and the Nag 5 of Peyton Bruni going on out to that main event in motor number 81. 7 girls expert. 82, 8 girls expert is on the track looking for the top 2. As they're coming around that 3rd turn, it's going to be closer Callie, Buggy Eldridge, and Elena Kutris. Looking for the top 2 as they're coming on down. They're fighting for that 2nd spot. That's going to be that Nag 8 on that Nag 9 on that number 1 spot of Buggy Eldridge sitting on that number 1, and the 3 bike going on out. That's going to be closer Callie getting that 2nd transfer spot out of 82. 83, 9 girls expert. Looking for 3 going on out to the main. Izzy George. We got Sophia Wenzel, Chase Berry, and Addison Brindley. It's going to be Berry and sitting on that number 1 spot right now. Coming on down, it's going to be Berry and sitting on that number 1. I got the Gold Cup 1. Brindley sitting on that number 2. And the D-bike of Izzy George going on out to that main event in 83. 84, 10 girls expert. 3 heading on out. We got Bobby Gilman sitting on that number 1 as they're coming around that last turn. It's going to be Gilman sitting on that number 1. I got Christina Patrick sitting on that number 2. We're looking for one more. It's going to be Christina Patrick on that top spot. I got the Gilman on that 2 and the Gold Cup 3 of Kenzie Cafferty sitting on that number 3. Motor number 85 as they're coming around that 3rd turn. 11 girls expert. That's Peyton Boyd sitting on that number 1 spot right now for 1-800 Chaos coming out of Baltimore, Maryland. It's going to be Peyton Boyd on that number 1. I got that Gold Cup of Crazy Legs sitting on that number 2 spot. Searfoss. It's going to Boyd, Searfoss, and the 6 bike of the Meerkat picking up that number 3. 86, 12 girls expert. 3 going on out. We got Perry, Baby Girl Ricks, the TNT, and Not True, Tess Bailey. As they come down, that's going to be Pingator sitting on that number 1 spot right now. We're taking the top 3. 86 is the motor number. It's going to be the Nag 9, the Nag 7, and the 3. That's going to Bailey, picking up that number 2 and that 3 bike of Perry picking up that number 3. 87, 13 girls expert. 2 going on out to that main. We got Ginger Snap, Lily Miller, and Emily Maurer. That's Albie sitting on that number 1 spot right now. Allison Laughlin sitting on that number 1. Ginger Snap. And we got Emily Maurer for Ride Like a Girl, New Jersey, picking up that number 2, heading on out to that main in 13 girls expert. All right. Motor number 88, Danica Bailey, Shelby Elder, and Lotus Stotler. I got Bailey sitting on that number 2 spot right now. Shelby Elder sitting on that number 1. Coming on down that line is going to be Shelby Elder for J&R Bicycle sitting on that number 1 spot. And for Elite Vendetta, it's going to be that Nag 9 of Danica Bailey going on out to that main event. Motor number 89, 14 Girls Expert, 2 going on out to that main. Oh, look at them. We got 5 on the track right now. There they come. It's going to be Zoom Zoom, Caitlin Lev, Ashley Meck, Ava Yakelson, and the movie star Marissa Lyman. They are trying to get in there. We're taking the top 2 in 89. 14 Girls Expert coming on down the line. I got the Gold Cup 2. That's going to be the movie star and the 12 bike. That's going to go to Ava Yakelson on that number 1. And the movie star Marissa Lyman picking up that number 2 transfer spot in 89. 90 is the moto number. We got Ross, Lady Liberty, the Awesome Sauce, and Riley Panucci. That's going to be Lady Liberty sitting on that number 1 for Box USA BMX Foundation. It's going to be Lady Liberty sitting on that number 1, followed by that end bike of Awesome Sauce. Kaylin Miller getting that number 2 transfer spot, heading out to the main event in 14 Girls Expert. All right, 15-16 Girls Expert on the track. We got 2 racks, motor number 91, Manuela Roldan. We got Chloe Cappan, Cobra Kai, Kalani Smith, and Jenna Davis. That's going to be Chloe Cappan on that top side right now. Cappan on that top side right now on that number 2. That's going to be Rodan sitting on that number 2 spot right now as they come down and around. It's going to be Chloe Cappan for Factory Answer sitting on that top spot. The Nag 6 of Roldan sitting on that number 2. Down and across the line, taking those top 2. It's going to be Roldan on that 1. Cappan on that number 2. 92, 15-16 Expert Girls. We got the second rack as they're coming around. We got the Kool-Aid. We got Schlotterbeck, Pulaski, and the Bomb, Emily Perrin. Coming on down for Work BMX right there. That's going to be Peyton Pulaski sitting on that top spot. And the T of what? Sydney Schlotterbeck picking up that number 2 transfer spot, heading on out to the main in 92. 93, 17-20 Women's Expert total points. We got Katie Brink, Valentina Davalos, and Ezra Shriver. Shriver. That's going to be the Nag 3 of Shriver sitting on that number 1. I got that 5 of Davalos sitting on that number 2. And Katie Brink's going to be getting cleaned up, picked up on that last turn. Still total points going around. Motor number 94, another total points race. We got 21-30 Women's Expert. Devin Murphy, Taylor Hunt, and Lexi Alejandre coming on down for Daylight Cycles. That's going to be Devin Murphy on the Gold Cup 1. I got that Rock 1 of Lexi Alejandre sitting on that number 2. And Taylor Hunt for ECC, Factory ECC on that A-bike coming in on that number 3. Total points, motor number 94. 95, 31-35, or 31-40 Women's Expert. Total points, we got Stephanie Blackburn, Lightning Legs, Lisa Webb, and Amanda Warner. Lightning Legs sitting on that number 1. We got Warner sitting on that number 2. We got Blackburn sitting on that number 3 for Warped BMX. But 1-800 Chaos sitting on that 1 and 2 right now. It's going to be 1-800 Chaos coming around on that top side. Lightning Legs, Lisa Webb sitting on that number 1 out of Queenstown, Maryland. She is sitting on that top spot. Warner sitting on that number 2 out of Smithsburg, Maryland. Down and across the line, it's going to be the Nag 4 of Lisa Webb sitting on that 1. And at the line, it's going to Warner, going to be picking up that number 2. And Blackburn on that number 3. Motor number 96, 41 and over Women's Expert. Bianca Lathan, Christina Sandora, and Mama Marge Kaminsky. Oh, Mama Marge making that move. She's sitting on that number 2 right now as they come around into that last turn. On that number 1 spot right now, that's going to be that 4 bike of Christina Sandora sitting on that top spot. One more spot to go. That's going to be Mama Marge Kaminsky on that Nag 10 going on out to that main event in 96. 97, 5 and under Expert. Expert boys are on this track right now. 97 is the motor number total points. We got Social D, Dylan Myers, the Kamikaze, Jacob Colwell, and Grayson Carr. That's going to be the Kamikaze sitting on that number 1 side right now. All that Nag 5 of the Kamikaze for Alpha National Team. Coming across the line on that number 1, I got the Nag 19 of the Social D sitting on that number 2. And racing Grayson Carr going to be picking up that number 3 on that Nag 15. Motor number 98, 6 Expert 4 going on out to that main. We got the Atom Bomb, Xander Kutris, the Moto Slayer, Liam Canida, the Turtle, and Casley, Caleb Gasaway. Oh, he's sitting on that top spot right now. That's going to be Casley for Toxic Racing, sitting on that number 1 on that Nag 7. I got the Nag 2 sitting on that back tire. That's going to be Costa sitting on that number 2, followed by the Gold Cup 1 and the 54. Taking those top 4, it's going to be Baum sitting on that number 3 spot in that 54 bike of the Turtle. Canida picking up that number 4 transfer spot, heading on out to that main in 98. 99, 7 Expert. We got a combine coming down and around that last turn right now. On that top spot, that's going to be Brunn sitting on that top spot for Alpha National Team. Brunn sitting on that number 1. I got the Nag 19, a Custer sitting on that number 2, followed up by that 39, a Critchin on that number 3. And that 2-1 bike, that's going to go to that 21 of Wyatt Clark for Super Duper Bike Shop. 1018 Expert. Oh, here it comes again. I thought we were making out lucky, but it's going to be 8 Expert. We're looking for the top 2 going on out to the main. 101 is the motor number on that top side right now. That's going to be Jake Stavropoulos. He's leading them through. He's looking for his spot into that main. It's going to be Andre sitting on that number 2 right now. Coming down and across the line. That's going to the 11 bike of Stavropoulos. And that second spot going to the 15, the Nag 15 of the little machine, Andreas Andrade. Heading on out to that main. In 102's on the track right now. Oh, there they go. We got the Natural, Peevehouse, Cole, Gray, and Probert. Nag sitting on that top spot right now. That's going to be that Nag 12 of Probert sitting on that number 1. And the Nag 11 of Jensen Cole picking up that second transfer spot. Closing out the main in 8 Expert. 9 Expert is the class. We're going to have semis for a 9 Expert. We got 3 racks as they're on the track right now. We got Oliver Crane, Keegan Skinner, Poffenbarger, Transu, and Graves coming on down that line on that number 1 right now. That's going to be that 6 bike and the Nag 9. That's Crane. And the Nag 9 of Skinner. 104 coming around that third turn right now. We got the Saladkin, Franklin Webb, Brandon Maurer, Palmer Ward, and Jackson Kolpeski. Into that last turn right now. We're taking the top 2, heading on out to the semi right now. On that number 1 spot, that's going to be Palmer Ward. Palmer Ward sitting on that number 1 spot with that L bike. It's going to be Ward for Bombshell and the Gold Cup 3 going on out. That's going to be Jackson Kolpeski for Nomads BMX. Taking that second transfer spot, heading on out to that semi-main. Third rack of our 9 Experts right now. We got the Hayabusa, Ryder Davidson, Espen Wilk, the Ninja, Noah Tenya, and Colt Cafferty. As they're coming around on that number 1 spot right now, that's going to be that 5 bike of Espen Wilk sitting on that top side. Wilk going on out, and the Gold Cup 3 of Colt Cafferty going to be going on out to that semi-main. 106, we got 3 racks of our 10 Expert. Looking for 2 more going on out to that semi-main. Vroom, Tonkovic, Sims, and Word on that number 1 right now. That's going to be Word on that A bike. He's sitting on that top spot. I got that 1 bike of Tonkovic sitting on that number 2. Both them going out to that semi in 106 for 10 Expert. Second rack of our 10 Expert. We got 107 on the track. 2 more going out to that semi. We got Britton Ryan, the Rocket Man, Elliot Pettit, Ty Rawlings, and Colin Alshorn. Alshorn making a move, sitting on that number 2 right now for Powers Bike Shop, in and out of that last turn as they're coming down. That's going to be that Nag 14 of Britton Ryan sitting on that number 1. I got the Nag 14. He's going on out to that semi on that number 2 spot. That's going to go to that 5 bike of Colin Alshorn, making it to that semi in 107. Our final rack of our 10 Expert coming around right now. That's going to be the Madman, Maddox Victorio. We got the Mohawk Machine, Tyler Martin, Spin to Win, Kevin Washington, and the Zaniac, Zayden Robinson. All right, 108's coming around right now. That looks like that's going to be that 2 bike sitting on that number 1. The Zaniac sitting on that top spot as they're coming around the Gold Cup 2. It's going to be the Gold Cup 2 leading the pack through. And right now we got that 4-bike of Spin to Win sitting on that number 2. It's going to the Gold Cup 2 with the Zaniac and Spin to Win. Washington picking up that second transfer spot, heading out to the semi-main. Moto number 109. We're looking for 2 and 11 expert. 2 racks for our 11 experts as they're coming down. We got Cole, Linville, and Rouse. Linville sitting on that top side right now. No, that's okay. That's going to be Tucker Rouse on that number 1. I'm sorry, Tucker Rouse on that top side right now. And that 9-bike of Taylor Cole sitting on that number 2 spot. Going on out. Motor number 110, Stormin Norman, Jay Sterlinski, and Wild Wild West Spiker. As they come down and around on that number 1 spot, that's going to be that 2-bike. That's going to be Stormin Norman picking up that first transfer spot. And the 7 going to Jay Sterlinski picking up that second transfer spot out to the main in 110. Motor number 111 coming on down the line. We got 12 expert, 2 going on out to the semi. I got 3 racks as they come down. I got the Nag 15 and the D. It's going to be the D and the Nag 15. That's going to be the de Blasio on that 1 and Jason Linville on that 2. Kalani Smith to the trailer, please. Kalani Smith to the trailer, please. All right, motor number 112. We got 16 expert, 12 expert on that top side. That's going to be the Nag 16 of V-Dubs. Coming on down, it's going to be Dubs for Factory Powers, taking out number 1, and the 9.5 of Jonathan Smith on that number 2. Motor number 113, third rack of our 12 expert. Looking for 2 more going on out to that semi-main on that number 1 spot right now as they're coming down and around. I got the Ripper sitting on that number 2, but he's trying for that number 1. It's going to be that 6-bike and the Gold Cup 1. That's going to be Ryder Lawrence on that number 1, and Grippin Keller, the Ripper, sitting on that number 2. 114, 13 expert, looking for 2 going on out to the semi. We got Kelbley, Campbell, Lansing, and Heckley as they're coming around. That's going to be Heckley on that number 1 spot right now. We're taking the top 2 to the semi, top 2 to the semi. That's going to be Heckley on that 22 bike going on out, and it's going to be Thomas picking up that number 2. All right, if you were trying to get a open jacket at the trailer this morning, you can head on back there. They did find some. If you're trying to get a open jacket, I got Max Marshall on that number 1 and the Nag 12 of Brady O'Neill picking up that second transfer spot to the semi. If you earned an open jacket and were unable to get it this morning, you can head back over to the trailer and get it. They did find some more. All right, 116 coming down and across that line. We got 2 riders going on out to the semi. That's going to be the 14, the Ty Young, sitting on that number 1 spot. And the 2-3 of Johnny Tagg heading on out to that semi in 13 expert. 14 expert, look for 2 going on out to the semi. I got 4 racks of our 14 expert. 117 is the moto number. I got the Undertaker, the X-Man, Tombley, and Findlay as they come down. That's going to be that 2-bike on that top side right now. It's going to be the Undertaker on that 1 and that 21 bike of Lane Findlay on that number 2 transfer spot heading on out to that semi-main. Second rack of 4 of 14 expert on the track. Be Smooth. We got Caden Dodd and the big crank Ryan Scott. That's going to be Smooth sitting on that number 1 as they're coming around that last turn right now. It's going to be Smooth. Ashton Burgess sitting on that number 1, and the big crank, Ryan Scott for Truth BMX, picking up that second transfer spot out to the semi in 118. 119, we got the TNT, Trevor Taylor, Brendan Felser, and Cody Calabrese. Motor number 119, Felser sitting on that number 1. And 69, Cody Calabrese sliding in there. The air don't always pay. 120. 14 expert. We got our final rack of our 14 expert coming down and around. I got Andrew Herrera sitting on that. Number 1 is going to be Herrera picking up that top spot. And the 10 bike of Mike Bryan picking up that number 2 for Driven Cycling Academy, picking up that second transfer spot out to the semi. Closing out 14 expert. 121, 15 expert. We got 4 racks looking for 2 going on out to the semi. Here they come. That's going to be Tyler Bailey on that National 84 on that number 1 spot. We got a battle going on for that second transfer spot going out to the semi. That's going to be that 2 bike for Velocity of Zach Drinkard going on out to that semi main in 121. 122's on the track. Jacob McCabe, Sean Avalos, and Gilberto De Leon the third. In and out of that last turn. There they come on that number 1 spot. That's going to be Avalos sitting, or the 3 bike, McCabe sitting on that number 1, and that 52 of De Leon picking up that second transfer spot out of 122, heading out to that semi. 123, our third of 4 racks. We got Coop McGee, Joseph Balsavage, and Tyler Wheeler. Fat Daddy sitting on that number 1 spot right now. That's going to be Tyler Wheeler. He's sitting on that number 1 spot. Wheeler coming on down. He's going to be getting that number 1 straight out of Compton. It's going to be Fat Daddy and that 16 bike of Riley McGee taking that second transfer spot out of 123. 124, 15 expert, 2 to the semi. Final rack of our 15 expert. We got Wathen, Mendito, and Elliott. Mendito leading them through that last turn. It's going to be Factory TNT. Evan Mendito sitting on that number 1 spot, busting out that manual, and that 5 bike is going to be Preston Elliott for Velocity BMX, or Bike Company, coming out on that number 2, going to that semi. 125, 16 expert. We got 3 racks looking for 2 going on out to the semi right now. That's going to be Black Crown on that top side. Ryan Bramer out of South Park, Pennsylvania. He's going to be Bramer for that 1 spot. Black Crown coming across the line in the Gold Cup 3 of John Robbins, crossing it for Velocity Bike Company on that 2, out to that semi. 126, our second rack of our 16 expert. 2 more going on out to that semi. We got Amaris, Clark, and Fuller. Oh, it's starting to get a little drizzly out there. They're sticking that turn coming on down on that number 1 side. That's going to be that 15 bike. That's going to be Boogie Clark picking up that first transfer spot. And that 6-7 going on out of Jules Filler. Getting that second going out to that semi-main in 126. 127. Our third rack of our 16 experts coming around. 2 more. Last 2 going to that semi. Oh, they're battling for that final spot. I got that 4-3 of Stripling sitting on that number 1. And it's going to be that Gold Cup 2 of Demersky going on out to that semi-main in 16 expert. 17-20 expert, looking for 2 going on out to that semi. 3 racks of our 17-20s. 128's on the track right now. That's going to be the Raptor. We got Joyce and Chapman coming on down. Out with 63 bike. That's going to be Colin Joyce on that number 1 in the Gold Cup 2 of the Raptor, picking up that number 2 spot. Going out to that semi for 17-20 expert. 29, 129, Jonas Jackelson, Joseph Leto, and Bryce Rose. Leto sitting on that number 1. We got Rose sitting on that number 2 as they're coming on down. These 2 are going on out. It's going to be that 6-2 bike of Leto for Alto. And that's going to be Bryce Rose on that 5-1 for Factory Answer. Almost losing it at the line, but holding on. 130 is the motor number. Last rack of our 17-20 experts as they're coming in and out. That's going to be Flash Dunn, Gavin Smith, and Uncle Robbie Sinchek on that number 1. That's going to be Uncle Robbie on that 26 bike. And that 1 of Gavin Smith getting that number 2 for Powers Bike Shop down and across the line, closing out that 17 expert main. Oh, that was a 55? All right. Motor number 129, that was the 55, not the 51 across the line. So it's going to be the National 62. That's 129 is going to be the National 62 of Leto and the 55 of Jackelson crossing the line. All right, 131 just came across the line. I got that 419. It's going to be Morgan on that number 1 and the 188 of the Simraldo picking up that second transfer spot out to the main. 132 coming down and across the line right now. I got that 104 of Dos Rice on that number 1 spot and the 684 of Jose Suscoon. 133 coming around. I got 3640 Expert. 3640 Expert. We got 3 riders coming around right now on that top side. We're looking for the top 2. Oh, they're battling it. It's going to be that 11 bike. I'm sorry, it's going to be the Nag 11 and the 2. Rojas getting that. Yep. Rojas, you're running that wrong plate. Oh, I'm sorry. All right, 134, 41, 45. Looking for 2 going on out to the main. We got 1 showing on up as he's coming down. That's going to be that 7.5 bike of Michael Jones. Looking at that first place, heading on out to that main event, getting it done. 135. 4650 Expert looking for the top 4 as they come around. 135 is the motor number. I got that Nag 7 of Motley sitting on that number 1. That's going to be the 18 bike. The Nag 18 of the Hulk sitting on that number 2. We got the 15 and Michael Duke. That's going to be Nigel Cummings on that number 3 spot and Michael Duke on that 15 on that number 4 spot going out in 135, 136, 51 and over Expert. We're looking for the top 3 right now. We got the Bronx Bomber, Norbert Lopez. We got the DL, Dominic Ericotes, and Billy Griggs. Billy Griggs for Razor on that number 1 spot right now. He's going to be coming down and across the line. It's going to be Griggs with Dominic Ericotes sitting on that number 2 spot, shooting that web, going on out. And it looks like it's going to be Norbert Lopez making it to the main on that number 3 spot. All right, that concludes our first 2 rounds of racing.
Make your plans for your state championship series today. State championship series are packed with tons of action and determine the overall age group champions in your state. Should you be crowned the #1 rider in your state, age and proficiency group, you'll receive a custom award and a #1 plate. Riders may also earn bonus state points by racing in single-point events. Plus, plates will be awarded for number 2 through 10 based on the number of riders in your age and proficiency group. Visit usabmx.com for details on how you can earn a state number plate.
Ready, watch the gate.
Lauren Reynolds. I ride S-Squared bicycles, 3-time Bike of the Year.
I need only me. I am brave, I am bold, I am beautiful. I need only me. I am brave, I am bold, I am beautiful. Keep your head up, wear your crown. Never let them tear you down.
Radio.
Big been dope on flame, I just switched the lanes. Damn, he did it again, I just flipped the pain. Stripping and dipping in bass, slab on everything. Swimming, you sinking away, cause I got big racks coming. I put my low racks on it. I ain't skip past losses, I had to get back off it. See the fit lab on it until they whip my coffin. Money clip, I tossed it, I heard it's big bags on big bags on big bags coming. Coming in, yeah, flex. I just wanna win.
Make your plans for your state championship series today. State championship series are packed with tons of action and determine the overall age group champions in your state. Should you be crowned the #1 rider in your state, age and proficiency group, you'll receive a custom award and a #1 plate. Riders may also earn bonus state points by racing in single point events. Plus, plates will be awarded for number 2 through 10 based on the number of riders in your age and proficiency group. Visit usabmx.com for details on how you can earn a state number plate.
Riders ready, watch the gate.
Lauren Reynolds. I ride S-Squared bicycles, 3-time Bike of the Year.
I need only me. I am brave, I am bold, I am beautiful. I need only me. I am brave, I am bold, I am beautiful.
As they're coming around, we're looking for 4 going on out. This is going to be the semi, our first semi, 7 and under cruiser. As they come around, that's going to be Hester sitting on that #1 spot right now. Ashton Hester, he's going on out to the main. I got that 12 Brun sitting on that #2 spot, followed up by that 6'9 Bryce sitting on that #3, and the 66 heading on out of Parker Graves. Semi #2 coming on at our second rack of our 7 and under cruiser. We got the showman, Logan Hadley, Clyde the Slide Santos, David Crichon. We got Cruzy the Racer, Grayson Novak, and Wyatt Clark. That's going to be Clyde the Slide on that #1 side right now. Clyde the Slide sitting on that top spot. I got that 1 on that #2 spot. As they come around, that's going to be Critchen sitting on that #3 spot. He's got company as they come down. That's going to be Clyde the Slide sitting on that top spot. I got that 17 bike of the showman on that #2. I got the 157 and the Gold Cup 2. That's going to be Critchen on that #3 spot, and the Gold Cup 2 of Cruzy the Racer on that #4. All right.
Semi-mains are staging up, guys.
Holding off for just a second, we had a 7 intermediate, made it in cruiser. So he just raced his cruiser. He's getting his 20-inch ready. 7 intermediate staging up. All the rest of the semis staging up.
All right, Antonio Bellavista, the bull. I know you're around. I know you hear me. You need to be moving your vehicle. You got to move that slow stang, Antonio Bellavista. You are parked in the way. You need to be moving your vehicle.
Make your plans for your state championship series today. State championship series are packed with tons of action and determine the overall age group champions in your state. Should you be crowned the #1 rider in your state, age, and proficiency group, you'll receive a custom award and a #1 plate. Riders may also earn
Second
bonus.
semi. We had a rider going in cruiser and class. Here we go. 7 intermediate. We got Tommy the Tomahawk Belcher, Bryson Carroll, Caden Wagner, Coop Dog Cafferty. We got Keenan Cottrell and LaFerrari, Mark Gusev. Oh, look at that. There he goes, Belcher in that cruiser, and he is getting it done in class semi right now. As they come around, it's going to be Bryson Carroll sitting on that #1, I believe it is, as they come up and over. They are fighting for position. It's going to be the Tomahawk diving down on the inside, sitting on that #1. But as they come down across that line right now, that's going to be that 60 bike of the Mohawk, or Tomahawk, sitting on that #1. We got 1 rider, 2 riders going down. Oh, Coop Dog going down. That's going to be the 80 or 62, the 83, and the 28, the 26. All right, we got our second rack of our 7 intermediates coming on out right now. We got Blake Windows, Asher Parkinson, No Toscano, Michael Hudzik, Thiago Souza, and Beep Haley Smith. Up on that backside right now as they're coming around. Oh, that looks like on that top side. Hard to see as they come up and over. That's going to be Toscano on that #3 spot. I see that. That 20 bike of Parkinson sitting on that #1 spot right now. Asher Parkinson coming out of Marietta, California on that #1. He is looking at getting into that main event. It's going to be Parkinson on that top spot. I got that 5'3" of Blake Windows sitting on that #2 spot. It's going to be Toscano on that 3 and that 2'6" of Haley Smith. Beep, you're going to the main. Semi number 3, we got 9 expert coming around. Goris, Santos, Ballman, Crane, Ward, and Wilk. Oh, that's going to be that nag bike up there on that top spot. That's going to be that nag 8. That's going to be Goris sitting on that number 1 spot. I got the nag 5 at nag 8, the 6, and the Gold Cup 2. That's going to be Ballman on that number 1. Goris on that number 2. Santos going in. And Crane. Motor number 4, we got Greenwell, Backer, the Prodigy, Skinner, Kopeski, and Cafferty. The top 4 going on out to that main right now. That's going to be that 3 bike. That's going to be the Prodigy. I got that 3 bike. I got the 8-7. I got the N and the 9. That's going to the Prodigy on that number 1 spot. I got that 8 bike. The N of Kopeski going on in, and that 9 bike going in Skinner. Here comes moto number 5 down at the line, 10 expert. It's going to be that C bike of Lang on that number 1, followed up by that 4 of Washington. I got the nag 14 and the 7 of Alshorn. Britton Ryan sliding in there on that 3. Semi number 6, Wagner. We got the King, passing easy, Brady Word, Alshorn, and the Zaniac coming on down on that number 1. That's going to be Passanisi sitting on that top spot. I got the nag 12 of Wagner sitting on that number 2, but we got the Gold Cup 2 and the nag 3. Severn coming on down on that top side right now. That's going to be that nag 9. That's going to be Riley Allen sitting on that top spot. I got the 7 of Gomalicki sitting on that 2, followed up by the 6 and the 1. That's going to be Ryder Lawrence sitting on that number 3 spot. And that 1 bike of Reeder picking up that number 4. Second rack of our 12 experts coming around right now. Hessel, McCain, Bruni, Linville, Smith, and the Ripper. That's going to be Bruni on that number 1 spot right now for Full Tilt Radio coming on down at nag 3. It's going to be Bruni on that top spot. I got the Ripper sitting on that number 1. I got the 13 and the 4 of Hessel. That's going to be gripping the Ripper going on out to that main. I got that 13 of McCain sitting on that main and that 4 bike going on out of Hessel. Moto number 9 coming around that semi. 13 expert first round. I got that 1 bike, that Gold Cup 1 of Allen sitting on that top spot, the nag 13. That's going to be Colburn, followed up by the nag 12 and the 23. Going out O'Neill and Johnny Tagg. Semi number 10, 13 expert, second rank. We got Delaney, Bettinger, Hot Sauce, Heckley, Marshall, and Young. On that top side right now, that's going to be Delaney sitting on that top side. I got the Hot Sauce sitting on that number 2, followed up by Bettinger and Marshall. 11 is the semi number right now. 14 expert as they're coming around. Oh, that's going to be the Assassin sitting on that number 1 right now. He is going out. It's going to be the Assassin sitting on that top spot. That's Brun sitting on that number 2 on that K-bike. Followed up by the 10 and the 5. That's going to be Bryant on that number 3 spot in that 5 bike of Respass sitting on that number. Of the regular 5 of Deegan Brown. Sitting on that number 4, heading on out to that main event. Motor number 12, semi number 12, second rack on that top side right now. That's going to be Herrera sitting on that 1. I got the nag 18 of Boyd sitting on that 2, followed up by the 20 in the Gold Cup 3. That's going to be Fisher getting in there in that Gold Cup 3. Alejandro Shea closing out that main event in 14 expert. 15 expert, semi number 13. Oh, that's going to be Tyler Bailey sitting on that top spot right now. We got Gardner sitting on that number 2. On the inside, who's that going to be? That's going to be Haney, but it's going to be Bailey coming around on that top side. It's going to be Tyler Bailey sitting on that number 1, followed up by Mendito, Haney, and Gardner. All right, second rack of our 15 expert coming around. Sterling, Grace, Williams, Pesatoro, Drinker, DeLeon, Wheeler, and Elliott. On that number 1 right now, that's going to be Cutter Williams sitting on that top spot. I got the nag 12 of Sterling going on in there. The nag 10 and the A. That's going to be Pesatoro sliding in there too. And the A bike of the Hitman, Hayden Grace. Closing out that main in 15 Expert. '16 Expert, moto number 15 on the track right now. We got Caldwell. Mick Lovin, we got Matthew Haas, we got the Jet, Ryan Bramer, Boogie Clark, and Brett Stripling. That's going to be McLovin sitting on that top side right now for Rival Racing. For J&R sitting on that number 2, that's going to be Haas as they're coming around that third turn on that number 3 spot. That's going to be Ryan Bramer. Oh, they're starting to stretch it out. It's going to be Boogie Clark sitting on that number 4 as they push down that line. It's going to be McLovin picking up that number 1. I got the Nag 16, the 20, and the 15. That's going to be Bramer and Boogie Clark closing it on out. All right, here we go, 16, our final rack of our 16 experts. On the track right now, that's going to be the C-Bike of Charlie Biggs sitting on that top spot right now. We got Christopher Hobby sitting on that number 2. Hobby's wearing goggles. That's going to be throwing me off right now, but Biggs sitting on that 1. We got Hobby sitting on that number 2 spot. It looks like Velocity in that 3 and 4 as they're coming on down. That's going to be that C-Bike of Charlie Biggs sitting on that number 1. I got the 47, the 17, and the Gold Cup 3. All right, 17. Semi-17, 17-20 expert on the track right now. We got Showtime, Rangel, the new guy. We got the rapper, Jonas Jacobson and Gavin Smith. Oh, look who it is out there. It's nothing new right now. We got the new guy, Cameron Bramer for Supercross, sitting on that number 1 spot. As they're coming around that last turn, it's going to be Rangel sitting on that number 2. Oh, they're pushing down. We're trying to get in that main. It's going to be the new guy sitting on that number 1, followed up by, oh, that's going to be that 230 of Rangel sitting on that number 1. We got the new guy followed up by the 1 of Showtime and Smith or De Leon on that Gold Cup 2. 18 on the track right now as they're coming around. We got Schaefer, Kaminsky, Meekins, Joyce, Leto, and Sinchek. That's going to be Leto leading them through right now on that number 1. Leto on that top spot for Alto Wrecking Crew. He's coming on down that line on that number 2 spot. That's going to be that 63 bike. That's going to be Joyce sitting on that number 2. I got the 9-6 of Schaefer and Louis Kaminsky sliding on in there. All right. Getting into that main. Ladies and gentlemen, that was our semis. We got our mains coming up in a minute.
Radio.
Big been dope on flame, I just switched the lanes. Damn, he did it again, I just flipped the pain. Stripping and dipping in bass, slab on everything. Swimming, you sinking away, cause I got big racks coming. I put my low racks on it. I ain't skip past losses, I had to get back off it. See the Fit Lab on it until they whip my coffin. Money clip, I tossed it, I heard it's big bags on big bags on big bags coming. Coming in, yeah, flex. I just wanna win.
Make your plans for your state championship series today. State championship series are packed with tons of action and determine the overall age group champions in your state. Should you be crowned the #1 rider in your state, age and proficiency group, you'll receive a custom award and a #1 plate. Riders may also earn bonus state points by racing in single point events. Plus, plates will be awarded for number 2 through 10 based on the number of riders in your age and proficiency group. Visit usabmx.com for details on how you can earn a state number plate.
Watch the gate.
Hey, it's Lauren Reynolds. I ride S-Squared bicycles, 3-time Bike of the Year.
I need only me. I am brave, I am bold, I am beautiful. I need only me. I am brave, I am bold, I am beautiful. Keep your head up, wear your crown. Never let them tear you down. Stay strong, be free, be who you wanna be. I need only me. I am brave, I am bold, I am beautiful.
Radio.
Big been dope on flame, I just switched the lanes. Damn, he did it again, I just flipped the pain. Stripping and dipping in bass, slab on everything. Swimming, you sinking away, cause I got big racks coming. I put my low racks on it. I ain't skip past losses, I had to get back off it. See the fit lab on it until they whip my coffin. Money clip, I tossed it, I heard it's big bags on big bags on big bags coming, coming in. Yeah, flex, I just wanna win.
Make your plans for your state championship series today. State championship series are packed with tons of action and determine the overall age group champions in your state. Should you be crowned the #1 rider in your state, age and proficiency group, you'll receive a custom award and a #1 plate. Riders may also earn bonus state points by racing in single-point events. Plus, plates will be awarded for number 2 through 10 based on the number of riders in your age and proficiency group. Visit usabmx.com for details on how you can earn a state number plate.
is ready. Watch the gate.
Hey, it's Lauren Reynolds. I ride S-Squared bicycles, 3-time Bike of the Year.
I need only me. I am brave, I am bold, I am beautiful. I need only me. I am brave, I am bold, I am beautiful. Keep your head up, wear your crown. Never let them tear you down. Stay strong, be free, be who you wanna be. I need only me. I am brave, I am bold, I am beautiful.
All right, here we go with our Pro Open main event. Loaded in the gate right now. Coming out of Phoenix, Arizona on the 192. Jenna Sagendorf out of Reidsville, North Carolina on the 106. Bo Foster out of Sarasota, Florida on the National 96, Evan Schaefer. And for Factory S-Squared out of Chaparral, New Mexico on the Nag 9, Paige Zachary. All right, our pro main is on a roll right now. Schaefer coming out with the quickness. On that number one, that's going to be Evan Schaefer sitting on that top spot, heading around that first turn. It looks like that's going to be Paige Zachary sitting on that number two spot. Foster and Sagendorf Battling it out for that number 3 spot right now. It's going to be Foster sitting on that number 3. We got Schaefer sitting on that number 1. Zachary on that number 2 as they're coming around that third turn. Keeping the rubber side down. It's going to be Schaefer, Zachary, Foster, and Sagendorf. Last turn coming on down. It looks like that's going to be Evan Schaefer out of Sarasota sitting on that top spot. Getting that pumping. It's going to be Schaefer on 1. Zachary on that 2. Foster and Sagendorf. 6 and under mixed open coming on out of the gate right now. We got Brantley Spinda, James Bentley, Vincent Semplace, and Brady Hudzik. Oh, that looks like that's going to be Hudzik and Spinda. Oh, no, that's going to be Hudzik on that number 2. He's backing down onto that number 3, but it looks like Semplace sitting on that number 1 spot right now. Bentley sitting on that number 2 as they come down that third straight. It's going to be Bentley sitting on that top spot right now as they're coming around. The 1 or the 6, 6, 7 of James Bentley coming around on that top side right now as he's pushing along. They're all spaced out coming down and across that line. That's going to be that 6, 6, 7 of James Bentley picking up that number 1. I got Brantley Spinda. The Semplace picking up on that number 2. Spinda on that number 3. Seven, 8 mixed open. All right, there they are, all loaded in the gate. We got motor number 3, 7, 8 mixed open. As the gate goes down, here we go. It's going to be main number 3, 7, 8 mixed open. Keenan Cottrell, Asher Parkinson, Victoria G. We got Bryson Carroll, Michael Hudzik, Lightning Max Morrill, Grayson Toscano, and the Ferrari Mark Gusev. That looks like Toscano on that top spot right now for Black Crown. He's on that top side as they're coming down and around. It's going to be Toscano sitting on that number 1 spot for the Black Crown Bike Shop. That's going to be that 20 bike. Parkinson sitting on that number 2 spot as they're spacing it all out. It's going to be Toscano on 1, Parkinson on that number 2 spot. We got Moyer sitting on that number 3, coming down that last straight. As the rain starts to come down a little more, it's going to be Toscano on that 1, Parkinson on that 2. I got that 62 and a 4-7. Main number 4, 9, 10 mixed open. Noah Parkinson. We got MJ Gross, Addison Bindley, Bobby King, and Isabella Stevens leading them around the track right now. That's going to be Factory S Squared. Isabella Stevens, 9, 10 mixed open is on the track. It's going to be Stevens sitting on that number 1. We got Gilman sitting on that number 2 spot. And the Gold Cup 1 of Brindley sitting on that number 3 as they're coming around. It's going to be Isabella Stevens for Factory S Squared sitting on that top spot. Bobby Gilman sitting on that number 2 for Box Components as they're down and around on that last straight. It's going to be Isabella Stevens picking up that number 1 in that open class. Is Gilman picking up that number 2. I got Addison Brindley on that number 3 spot, and that 68 of MJ Gross picking up that number 4 in main number 4. Main number 5, 11, 12 mixed open. We got Baby Girl, Chatham Ricks, the TNT, Tristan Pingator, Lucas Sauerman, the Cannonball, Kate Claridge, the Juice, and the Dust Bunny, Dre Ann Foster. As they come around on that top side right now, that's going to be the Cannonball for Rival Racing. Sitting on that number 1, Kate Claridge. We got the Pingator, the TNT on that number 2 spot right now as they come down. It's going to be the Cannonball of Kate Claridge picking up that 1. We got Pingator on that number 2, followed up by the 13 and the 370. That's going to be a Villa on that number 3. And Lucas Sauerman on that number 4. Main number 6, we got 13-14 mixed open. Ashley Mack, Lady Liberty, Shelby Elder, Vance Keenan, the Super BMXer, Samantha Speraza, and Gabby Ross. J&R on that top side right now. That's going to be Shelby Elder sitting on that number 1. On that number 2 spot, that's going to be Lady Liberty. As they come around, we got Elder on that 1. We got Lady Liberty Dalton sitting on that number 2 spot. And the Gold Cup 3 of Speraza sitting on that number 3 spot. And that 3 bike going on out to Gabby Ross on that number 4. Motor number 7, 15-16 open. All right, here we go. Main number 7, 15-16 mixed open. We got Kalani Smith, the Cobra Kai, and Jenna Davis. All right, as they're coming around that backside right now on that number 1, that's going to be Jenna Davis sitting on that top side, coming out of Apple Valley, California. On that 10 bike, we got Cobra Kai, Kalani Smith for Powers Bike Shop out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. As they come around that last turn, we got 2 riders showing up here. They come down across that line. It's going to be Davis picking up that number 1, and that big old 4 of Cobra Kai picking up that number 2 in main number 7. Main number 8, 6 and under open, John Kerr, Caleb Gassaway, and Racing Grayson Carr. Total points as they're heading around that backside right now. That's going to be the nag 1 of John Kerr sitting on that number 1 spot right now. Casley sitting on that number 2, and Racing Grayson Carr on that number 3. Oh, they've been sitting like this all day long as they come down and around that last turn. There are spacing out between us. They got some social distancing going on. It is so important as they're coming on down that line on that number 1. It's going to be John Kerr picking up that top spot for the day. We got the 7 of Casley on that number 2 and Racing Grayson Carr on that number 3 all day long in the 6 and under open. 7 under open, or 7-8 open. The wild card, Chance Hall. We got the slam dunk, Duncan Boucher, Brody Ryan, Jensen Cole, and the showman, Logan Hadley. Oh, look at that. He's getting some air over there on that top side. That's going to be that. On that number 1, that's going to be that 1 bike of Jensen Cole sitting on that top spot. It's going to go to Cole sitting on that number 1. I got the 47. Oh, that's Chance Hall on that number 1. I'm sorry. Cole sitting on that number. Okay, it's going to be Brody Ryan sitting on that number 2. I got Chance Hall on that number 1. All right, main number 10, 9-10 open. Espen Wilk, we got the Bull, Crosby Backer, Tegan Stivel, Braden Goris, the Madman, Maddox Vittorio, Palmer Ward, and Britton Bryan. Coming down all across that line, that's going to be that 9-5 of the Bull, sitting on that number 1. I got the 1 bike. Ooh, the 14. Getting that number 3. Moto number 11. 11-12 open on the track. Ryder Lawrence. We got the Ripper, Griffin Keller, Mason Hayes, Wild Wild West, Wesley Spiker, A.J. de Blasio, and the Wild Thing, Eason Vaughn. That's going to be Lawrence on that number 1 spot right now as they're coming around on that top side. It's going to be Lawrence on that World 6 bike. Lawrence getting it done on that top side on that number 2. That's going to be the de Blasio getting that 2nd spot, and the Gold Cup 1 of the Ripper, Griffin Keller, picking up that number 3. We got Hayes sitting on that number 4. Main number 12, 13-14 open. 13-14 open. It's going to be Nick Mallett, Alejandro Shea, Nolan Colburn, and Philip Ramsey. That Gold Cup 3 is Shea. Going to be picking up that number 1. I got the 13 of Colburn and Ramsey on that number 3. (13, 15, 16 open. We got Wheeler, Boogie Clark, Quick Nick Stymus, and Sean Avalos. Quick Nick sitting on that number 1 spot right now as they're heading around that backside on that 3rd straight. It's going to be Quick Nick sitting on that number 1. We got Boogie Clark sitting on that number 2. Keeping it rubber side down. Avalos sitting on that number 3 spot. And Wheeler back up on those wheels, and he's going to be finishing it out as they're coming around down to that line. It's going to be Quick Nick Stymus for Speedco Team Torque. Boogie Clark picking up that number 2. Avalos on that number 3. And Wheeler on 4. 14. Got Gavin Smith. We got the Raptor, Ezra De Leon, the Moose, Tony Simraldo, Louis Kaminsky, the new guy, Cam Braver, Jonas Jacobson, and LJ Chapman. It's going to be the new guy out there on that top spot right now, Cam Bramer. We got Kaminsky sitting on that number 2 spot right now, but he is sweeping it all day long. Cam Bramer sitting on that number 1 as they're heading into that 3rd turn. I got Kaminsky sitting on that number 2 spot. Holding it on, trying to keep it grip on that number 3. That's going to be Jacobson as they come down and across that line. It's going to be Bremer, Kaminsky, Jacobson, and De Leon on that number 4. 15 is the main number, 10 and under girls cruiser. We got Danica Appenzeller, Isabella Stevens, Chase Berrien, Landon Berrien, Christina Patrick, and Izzy George. That's going to be Berrien on that number 1 spot right now. We got it. Appenzeller sitting on that number 2 spot right now. As they're heading around. That's going to be Stevens sitting on that number 2 as they come around. It's going to be Berrien sitting on that number 1. Down and across that line. That's going to be that Nag 10 of Landon Berrien. Landon Berrien going to be picking up that number 1. I got the Nag 8 of Isabella Stevens sitting on that number 2. Followed up at 4 and 8:03. That's going to be Appenzeller and Berrien. All right, 16, 11, 12, girls cruiser. Crazy Legs, Sear Falls. We got the Meerkat, Brianne Vaughn, Sadie Herrera, Mia Custer, and Courtney Perry. The 4-bike of Sadie Herrera coming on down. She's been dominating all day long. It's going to be Herrera sitting on that top spot. I got the 33, the 5. That's going to be Vaughn, Custer, and the Gold Cup 1 of Sear Falls getting that number 4. 17, 13, 14 girls cruiser. We got the Ginger Snap, Allison Laughlin, Kiera Maris, Riley Panucci, Kylie Nieberger, Ashley Meck, the Pac-Man, Isabella Nelson, Awesome Sauce Miller, and Shelby Elder. We got Hyper Colors up there on that number 1 spot right now. That's going to be the Pac-Man leading them through that last turn. It's Nelson on that top spot. We got Niederberger sitting on that number 2. Coming on down, Hyper, Factory Hyper on that number 1. We got a battle for that number 2. It's going to be that 5-4 of Elder sitting on that number 2. Niederberger on that 3. And the T-bike of Amaris on that number 4. 18 is the main number, 17-20 cruiser. Total points, Sydney Schlotterbeck, Haley Brown, and Chloe Cappin. Haley Brown sitting on that number 1 side right now. We got Schlotterbeck sitting on that 2. Cappin sitting on that number 3. As they make their way around that third turn, they are sticking that turn right now. It has been looking good, but down and around that last turn, it's Haley Brown on that Gold Cup bike, sitting on that top spot. We got Schlotterbeck putting that challenge on, coming on down the line. It's going to be down that line. Now it's going to be the Gold Cup 1, followed up by the 5-8, and the 2. It's Brown sitting on that top spot. Schlotterbeck sitting on that second, and Capping on that third. For the day, though, that's going to be, it's going to Brown, Schlotterbeck, and Capping all day long. Gold Cup 1 is going to be the National 5-8 and the National 2. Motor number 19, 21-30 women's cruiser. Lexi Alejandre, Devin Murphy, and Taylor Hunt coming on down. That's going to be Murphy sitting on that top spot for Daylight. I got the Rock 1 of Lexi Alejandre for Factory S Square sitting on that number 2. And Factory ECC picking up that number 3. Motor number 20, 31-35 women's cruiser, Katie Piatti. We got Amanda Warner and Desiree Sagendorf. Katie Piatti on that number 1 for Daylight Sakels coming out of Wilmington, Delaware, sitting on that number 1 spot right now. That looks like Sagendorf sitting on that number 2, and Warner sitting on that number 3 as they come around that third turn right now. It's still Piatti leading the pack down that third straight. We got a battle for that number 2 spot as they head into that last turn. It's Piatti sitting on that number 1 spot right now. Sagendorf on that 2. Warner on that number 3 coming on down and across that line. It's going to be Piatti sitting on that number 1 all day long. I got Warner going to be picking up that number 2 and Sagendorf on that number 3. So for the day, it's going to go to the Nag 4 on that top spot, the Nag 3 on that number 2, and the 5 bike of Sagendorf on that number 3 all day long. 21, 36-40 women's cruiser. We got Lightning Legs, Lisa Webb, Stephanie Blackburn, and Sparky, Sarah Kugler. Lightning Legs leading the pack around that third turn right now. It's going to be Lightning Legs, Lisa Webb, 1-800 Chaos around that last turn. She is leading them through. It's going to be Webb on that top spot. We got Warped BMX, Stephanie Blackburn sitting on that number 2, and Kugler sitting on that number 3 as they cross that line. It's going to Lightning Legs, Lisa Webb, Blackburn on that number 2, Kugler all day long. It's going National 44, Gold Cup 1, and the 18. Main number 22, 41-45 women's cruiser, Jennifer Lindman, Tracy Lansing, Kelly Amaris, Azalea De Leon, and Angela Constantino. Constantino on that number 1 spot right now. We got De Leon sitting on that number 2. Lansing on that number 3. In and out of that third turn. They are sticking it. It's going to be Constantino on that number 1 for Velocity Racing. Velocity Bike Company on that 1. Coming around, we got Rocket Racing on that number 2. That's going to be De Leon. We got Lansing for First Gen on that number 3 spot. Down and across the line is going to that National 65, the Gold Cup 1 of De Leon, that 6 bike of Lansing, and the 1 of Jennifer Lindman. 23 is the main number 46-50 women's cruiser, Susie Levan, Connie Ramsey, Bianca Lathan, Suzanne Black, Becky Moore, and Mama Marge Kaminsky, along with Turbo Tara Pettit. That's Susie Levan on that number 1 out of North Plainfield, New Jersey for Factory TNT Bicycles. It's going to be Susie Levan on that number 1. I got Turbo Tara Pettit sitting on that number 2 spot. Becky Moore sitting on that 3 as they come down and around into that last turn. It's going to be Susie Levan sitting on that top spot. Turbo Tara Pettit on that number 2. I got the Nag 8. Becky Moore sitting on that number 3. And that 1 bike, the Rock 1 of Mama Marge Kaminsky down and across that line. 24-7 and under cruiser. Ashton Hester. We got Bryson Bruns, Dynamite, Benny Bryce, the Mighty Mouse, Parker Graves, the Showman, Logan Hadley, Clyde the Slide, Santos, David Kreischen, and Cruzy the Racer. Oh, that's Clyde the Slide on that number 1 out of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Clyde to slide. Santos sitting on that top spot as they're heading in and out of that last turn. I got Hester sitting on that number 3 spot. Oh, here they come, here they come. That Gold Cup 1 of Clyde to slide sitting on that number 1 spot. I got the 157 of Kreischer sitting on that number 2 spot. It's going to Santos, Kreischer, Hester, and the 69 of Benny Bryce picking up that number 4 out of Maine, number 24. 25, 8 Cruiser, Riley Records, Jake Stavropoulos, Aiden Trumpeter, Andrew Probert, the Kid, Marshall Warner, and Kai, the Hurricane Gray. That's going to be that Gold Cup 1 of Trumpeter sitting on that number 1 spot right now as they head in and out of that last turn. It's Trumpeter, and I got the Kid sitting on that number 2, airing it out, trying to make that move in and out of that last turn. What's going to happen? What's going to happen right now? It's going to be Trumpeter sitting on that top spot. He's going for it. I got that nag bike. That's going to be the Kid coming on down, but no, it's going to be Trumpeter on that number 1. I got the Kid on that number 2. I got the nag 8. Probert sitting on that number 3, and Stavropoulos picking up that 4. Oh, Mom, you jinxed it. 26 is on the track right now. 9 Cruiser, Oliver Crane, Colt Cafferty, Jacob Greenwell, Espen Wilk. We got Killian Santos, Blake Graves, Jackson Kopesky, and Tyler Marhofer. Oh, that's going to be Black Crown up there on that top spot. That's going to be Greenwell on that number 1. I got Santos on that number 2 as they heading in and out of that last turn. Greenwell still sitting on that top side. That's going to be Santos sitting on that number 2. I got that 5 bike on that number 3. That's going to be Wilk sitting on that number 3 spot coming on down. It's going to be Greenwell, Wilk, and the 1 of Kopesky getting that number 4 spot. 27, 10 Cruiser, Diesel Sims. We got the Mohawk Machine, Brady Wurr, Zaniac Robinson, Spin to Win Washington, Jacob Lang, the Wildman, Mikey Tonkovich, and the Animal, Hayden Passanisi. Passanisi's on that number 1 right now, that Animal, 4J&R Bike Shops. It looks like that's going to be Brady Word sitting on that number 2 as they come around that last turn. It's going to be the Animal, Hayden Passanisi, coming out of Alpine, California on that number 1. It's going to be Passanisi. Word on that number 2 spot. I got the Gold Cup 1 of Lang sitting on that number 2, and that 44 of the Zaniac, Zayden Robbins on that number 4 spot.
Radio.
Big been dope on flame, I just switched the lanes. Damn, he did it again, I just flipped the pain. Stripping and dipping in bass, slab on everything. Swimming, you sinking away, cause I got big racks coming. I put my low racks on it. I ain't skip past losses, I had to get back off it. See the Fit Lab on it until they whip my coffin. Money clip, I tossed it, I heard it's big bags on big bags on big bags coming, coming in. Yeah, flex, I just wanna win.
Make your plan.
Now it's done. Main number 28, 11 Cruiser. Hayes goes down in the gate, but we still got 4 more. We got Wild Wild West, Wesley Spiker, Jay Sterlinski, Taylor Cole, and Chris Felker. He's getting back up, mounting that bike for Mongoose. He's going to be coming around. He's putting that power down now, but on that number 1 spot, that's going to be Felker sitting on that top spot. Felker on that number 1. I got that 7 bike. That's going to be the Nag 7 of Felker coming around for Factory Rift Tangent on that top spot right now. On that number 2, that's going to be Sterlinski sitting on that 2nd spot on that number 3. And that 4 bike of Taylor Cole sitting on that number 3, the 4-2 of Spiker coming in on that number 4. 29 is the main number. 12 Cruiser is the Clash. Riley Allen, Tommy Bruni, Alex Barnhart, Alex Marshall, the Wild Thing, Easton Vaughn, Tyler Hessel, Caleb McCain, and Jason Linville. That's going to be that Rock 1 of Riley Allen sitting on that number 1 spot right now. He is leading them around that track. That's going to be Allen on that top spot as they push down to that finish line. I got the nag 10 of McCain sitting on that number 2, followed up by the nag 4 of Bruni on that number 3, and the 3 of Hessel. Hessel picking up that number 4 in 29. Oh, as they all bunch up on main number 30. 13 Cruiser, Ty Young. We got the Hot Rod, Connor Harless, Brady O'Neill, Aloha Joe, P.J. Ramsey, Sebastian Bettinger, Max Marshall, and Campbell Thomas. That's going to be Ty Young on that number 1 spot right now. I got Bettinger sitting on that number 2. As they come around, it's going to be Ty Young leading the pack. Down and across for Rival Racing. I got Bettinger sitting on that number 2. I got Aloha Joe on that 3 in the goal, nag 3. Brady O'Neill on that number 4. 31-14 Cruiser. The Undertaker, Jonah Graves, Dominic Bischoff, Brennan Felser, Cody Calabrese, Sweet and Smoky, Mason Bruns, and Andrew Herrera. Herrera is on that number 1 spot right now. It's going to be Sweet and Smoky sitting on that number 2 spot right now. As they come around, that's going to be Felser sitting on that number 3, 1, 2, and 3. Herrera leading them through. Oh, Freight Train 1, 2, 3. Herrera, Bruns, and Felser 1, 2, and 3. I got that Gold Cup 3 of the Graves sitting on that number 4. That's how they're going to be finishing. It's going to Herrera, Bruns, Felser, and Graves in 14 Cruiser. 15 Cruiser, motor number 32. We got McGee, Henderson, Haney, Drinkard, Gardner, DeLeon, McCabe, and Mendito. Oh, battle going into that 3rd turn right now. That's going to be on that top spot. Henderson on that number 1 for Claiborne. Claiborne on that top spot. Haney trying to slide in there, but he is just making a mess right there. That's going to be Henderson on that top spot. I got Gardner sitting on that 8. I got the 4 Mendito and the 30 of Haney. All right. Some racing going on in the rain. Ain't nothing like it Sunday morning. All right, here we go. 16 Cruiser, 33 is the main. Amaris, the Jet, Kamikaze, Mara, Robbins, Demersky, Russ, and Bramer. Bramer on that top side right now. Ryan Bramer for Factory Black Crown. Leading them through that last turn is going to be Bramer. Sitting on that number 1, on that number 2. I'm seeing that 11 bike. That's going to be the Jet sitting on that 2nd spot. The 7-9 of Robbins sitting on that number 3. And Demersky on that Gold Cup 2. Going to be getting that number 4 out of 33. 34-17, 20 Cruiser. Louis Kaminsky, R.J. Vargo, Kalen Redmond, Uncle Robbie Evan Sinchek, and the Showtime, Nicholas Schwartz. Kaminsky on that number 1 right now for Factory TNT Bicycles. He's getting done on that number 1. It's going to be TNT on that top spot. I got Vargo sitting on that number 2 for Next Gen. As they head down that 3rd straight, he is keeping it strong, keeping it all spaced out on that number 1. Louis Kaminsky, the Flying Tomato. He is getting it done up on that 1. I got Vargo sitting on that number 2, but he's got company that's going to be the Showtime getting that number 2. Redmond on that number 4. Vargo on that 3. And Kaminsky on that 1. 31-35 Cruiser, Chris Sutton, Jason Wagner, and Tony Cook. Chris Sutton on that number 1 for Factory Answer out of Phoenix, Arizona right now. He's been sitting there all day long on that number 2. I'm going to have Jason Wagner, Factory Skills Prophecy out of Indiana on that number 2. And Tony Cook from Pennsylvania for I Am Cook Bicycles coming on down. That's going to be Sutton sitting on the 1. Total points. I got the 14 of Wagner sitting on the 2 and the 7 of Cook sitting on the 3. All day long, just like that. The nag 1, the 14, and the 7. 36-40 Cruiser. Oh, they're making some moves. It's going to be Jones, Big Wayne, Oldham, the Pink Mango, Lambert, Big D, Valencia, and Williams. That's going to be Valencia on that number 1 right now. Valencia, the track operator out of Santa Clara, California, on that number 1 for Factory Supercross. But he's got company. That's going to be Williams at the line. Donathan Williams on that number 1. I got the Gold Cup 3 and the 387. All right. 37, 46, 50 Cruiser. Jeremy Thompson, Antonio Bellavista, Michael Duke, Fabian Gonzalez, Drew Miley, and Brian Vorderman. That's Jeremy Thompson on that number 1 for Powers Bike Shop, leading them through on that Nag 3. It's going to be Yes on that number 2, Drew Miley, sitting on that second spot as they come in and out. It looks like Bellavista sprinkling that pixie dust on that last place, but as they come down, it's going to be Thompson sitting on that top spot. I got the Nag 9 of Motley on that number 2, followed up by Fabian Gonzalez and the 17 of Vorderman on that 4. 38, 51, 55 Cruiser. Norbert Lopez, Jody Adams, Terry Beebe, Mike Layfield, Tom Johnson, and Onofre Souza. That's going to be Tom Johnson on that number 1 right now. It's Johnson on that top spot. I see Layfield sitting on that number 1 for Factory Cyclecrest as they're coming in and out of that last herd. It's Tom Johnson sitting on that top spot on that 51. I got Layfield on that 2, followed up by Jody Adams on that number 3. And that 52 of Beam sitting on that number 4. 39 is the main number, 5660 Cruiser. Total points, Scott Angus for J&R Bicycles, Speedco Avian out of Monroe Valley, California. We got Lawrence Dunn for Tidewater Security out of Hampton, Virginia. And the Hammer, Mike Schwartz for Mike's Bikes out of Lexington Park, Maryland. It's J&R out there on Scott Agnes on that top spot. And Lawrence Dunn and Schwartz, 1, 2, and 3 as they come around that last turn. They are looking at that stripe right now. It's going to Scott Angus on that number 1 all day long. It's going to be that Nag 8 taking that 1. I got that 9 of Lawrence Dunn taking the number 2 for the day. And that 24 of Mike Schwartz picking up that number 3 for the day in 39, 5660 Cruiser. Motor number 45 and under novice, Aiden Skinner, Mean Mug, and Carter Patrick. James Sherrill, Maisie, the Bolt Walzer, Charlotte Word, Brenna Windows, Colton Baum, and Parker Carlson. Up there on that top side right now. All right, let's hear it for that down rider. He's going to be getting back on that bike and riding it out. 3 years old. He is 3 years old. I saw him last week out in Delaware getting it done out there. I like to see him down here doing it. Up, sliding around a little bit. I'm sure he's still having fun playing in that mud right now. We got Carlson on that number 1 on that 276 for Team Heckler BMX coming on down that last straight. Oh, 2 riders going on down. It's going to be the 276. On that number 1, I got that 23 of the Walzer sitting on that number 2 spot. The 214 of the Baum, the Tank, Colton Baum. Followed up by that 13 of Zayden Skinner. All right, those down riders in that final turn are cleaned up. Going to be making it around. Let's hear for Sherrill, 3 years old out there. He's still going to be busting it out. Watch him. He's going to be throwing no-footers. He's going to be throwing one-footers. Oh, this dude is going to be a mean cat. Shredding it up. For Liberty BMX. Once he's on that micro mini, it's going to be all over. All right, motor number 41, 6 novices on the track. We got Bebo, Bryce Lang, Shane Blackman Jr., Noel Wooten. That's going to be Blackman sitting on that number 2. I got Bebo sitting on that number 1. Whoop, there he goes with that one-footer. No footer. Oh, battle going on in that third turn right now. It's going to be Lang and Blackman 1 and 2. as they get it done. Oh, into that last turn. Who's going to be coming out on that top side? They are tied up for the day right now. It's going to be Bebo Lang sitting on that number 1 spot as they come down. It's going to be Lang on that 361. I got that 203 of Shane Blackman on that number 2. Getting a little loose. It's going to Lang, Blackman, and Wooten. That's how they're going to be finishing for the day. It's going to be the 361 of Bryce Lang, the 203 of Shane Blackman, and Noel Wooten going to be picking up that number 3 all day long in main number 41. Main number 42, 8 novice, Hunter Evans, Michael Carlson, the Mighty Mouse, Addison Orison, Blake Dougherty. Oh, as they come in and out of that third turn. That looks like that's going to be Dougherty sitting on, Carlson sitting on that number 4 spot right now as they come down and around on that number 1. That's going to be that 319 of Hunter Evans. Hunter Evans leading the pack, but he's got company. That's going to be the Mighty Mouse at the line, getting that number 2, followed up by the 921 and the 755. Carlson getting that 3 and the 755. Dougherty picking up that number 4. All right, 44 is the main number. 10 novice, Cooper Dawson, Salim Mason, T-Bird, T. Angeletti, Zachary Coppage, Logan Mathis, and Riley Steibel. Dawson on that number 1 spot right now. I think it is on that number 2 from Nova BMX. That's going to be Dawson on that number 2 on that 255, but we got Lethal Threat sliding up in there as they're coming 3 wide. We're looking for the top one. Who's that going to be? That's going to be that 355 of Logan Mathis picking up that 1 spot. The 254 Dawson on that number 2. The 2989. The 398 on that number 3 spot. All right, here we go, 45. It's going to be 11 novice on the track right now. We got Bailey Dawson, Haley Candia, and Salvatore Cristaldi. As they come around, 45, 11 novice, that's going to be Salvatore Cristaldi sitting on that top spot right now on that 903. Cristaldi coming on down the line. He's got company on that back tire. It's going to be the Hare, Haley Canida picking up that number 2, and Bailey Dawson picking up that number 3 in main number 45. 46 is the main event number. .46, 12 novice, the gunslinger, Haley Bear, Sean Devilbiss. We got Tayshawn Riley and Braden Colburn. Tayshawn Riley on that number 1 right now. We got Sean Devilbiss sitting on that number 2 for On 2 Wheels. But Tayshawn, he is walking out. Rocky Point, New York, he's getting it done up there on that number 1. It's going to be Tayshawn Riley coming around on that top side. Sean Devilbiss sitting on that number 2, 1 and 2, down and across the line. The 121, the Gold Cup 1, and the 490 going to be getting that number 3 of Braden Colburn. Motor number 47, 14 novice, Morgan Barnhart, Lucien Cristaldi the 3rd, Sala Mason, and Carly Perry. Salvatore Cristaldi on that number 1. This rider, him and his brother in that last moto, both picking up those number 1s. They've only been riding for a couple weeks. They are out there at that track all the time, putting that time in. Now they're here getting those wins in the National Series. Coming on down, it's going to be Lucien Cristaldi the 3rd on that number 1 spot. On that number 2, it looks like Barnhart coming on down for Answer S Squared, Devo, and the 397 of Sila Mason picking up that number 3, Carly Perry on that 4. 48, 36, 40 novice, Roy Conley. We got Jim McLennan and Gaz Hassan. Gaz out there on that number 1 spot right now. on that 413 out of Washington, D.C. It's going to be McLennan sitting on that number 2, and Roy McConley sitting on that number 3 as they come around that last turn, trying to keep it sticky. It's going to be Gaz Hassan picking up that number 1 spot down and across the line. Gaz getting that 1. I got the 8-12 of McLennan sitting on that number 2, and Conley going to be picking on that number 3. 49, 46-50 novice, Kelly Gardner, Russell Hancock, and Albert Costa. Rocket Racing going to be battling it out for that 1. We got Gardner and Hancock right now. Gardner sitting on that number 1. I got Hancock sitting on that number 2. Gardner sitting on that number 1. As they head into that last turn right now. That's going to be bar to bar coming on down. They are pushing. We got total points tied up coming on down the line. It's going to be the 397 of Kelly Gardner picking up that number 1. The B-Bike picking up that number 2, and Albert Costa picking up that number 3. For the weekend, or for the day, that's how they're going to be going. At 397 of Kelly Gardner picking up that top spot. The B-Bike of Russell Hancock going to be taking that number 2, and the Gold Cup 3 of Albert Costa going to be picking up that number 3 in 49. 50 is the moto number. 51 and over novice. We got Thomas the Train, Mike Kimball, Ron Yo, and the Big Timber, Frank Klemecki on the big wheels out there. But on that top spot right now, that looks like Thomas the Train on that number 2. On the inside, we got the Gold Cup 1 of Mike Kimball sitting on that number 1 coming out of Brick, New Jersey. It's going to be Kimball sitting on that number 1. On that number 2, I got that 151 of Ranyo. And Moore sitting on that number 3. Big Timber going to be sitting on that number 4. You're posing now. You all right? I've heard of voguing, but posing at the finish line. As long as you're all right. All right, moto number 51. Here we go. 5 and under intermediate. Blake Coyne. We got Brecken Miller. Crazy Feet. Hayden Hedges. 3 riders coming on out. 5 and under intermediate. Who's that on that top side as they come around that last turn? Look at that. Look at that on that 1. It's going to be that 118 in the 5 and under intermediate. He knows what this is. He's going for it. Pack BMX Lambo's Bike Shop. This is going to be that class up win. Congratulations. That's going to be Blake Coyne on that 118, moving up to the expert class. Once again, congratulations on that win. 52, 6 intermediate, Semplice, the Duke Liberto, Max Power, Maxwell Moore. We got Dominic Caputo, James Bentley, and Brantley Spinda. The Gold Cup 2 of Caputo sitting on that number 1 spot right now out of Pasadena, Maryland for Lethal Threat. It's going to be Lethal Threat coming around on that top side right now. It's Caputo on that number 1 on that Gold Cup 2. On that number 2 spot, that's going to be the 667 of Bentley. Taking that to the 148 of Liberto. And the 5-2 of Maxwell Moore for Team Heckler, picking up that number 4. 53, 7 intermediate is on the track. The Tomahawk, Tommy Belcher. We got Caden Wagner, Keenan Cottrell, LaFerrari, Mark Gusev, Blake Windows, Asher Parkinson, No Toscano, and Haley Smith. That's going to be on that top side. Asher Parkinson sitting on that number 1. He's leading them around that last turn. It's Parkinson sitting on that top spot. He is keeping it still and steady coming on down that 20 bike of Asher Parkinson. On that top spot, I got that 8-2, the 6-2, the 8-3, and the 5-3. That's going to the 68. $54.8 intermediate, Brady Hubbard. We got the Flash, Cameron Huntsberry, Lightning, Max Moyer, and the bobblehead, Lyndon Cranwell. as they're coming around on that top side right now. Who's that going to be on that one? Rain's coming down right now. That's going to be that 5'6" bike of Brady Hubbard out of Raleigh, North Carolina for Liberty BMX. It's going to be Hubbard on that number 1. I got Flash Hunsberry sitting on that number 2, followed up by the 47 of Moyer on that number 3. In the 238 of the bobblehead, picking up that number 4 out of Maine, number 54. Maine, number 55, 9 intermediate, Noah Parkinson, Ben Niles, Alex Avalos, the bobblehead, Noah Hargrove, Michael Liberto, Jesse Grubb, the Big Bacon, Benjamin Johnson, and Grant Dillon. Diving into that third turn, pretty fierce as they're coming out. That's going to be the bobblehead, Noah Hargrove for Full Circle Bike Shop on that number 1. Coming on down to that line, it's going to be that 16 bike right now. He's got company. That's going to be the 2-4 of Grubb sitting right there on that number 2. It's going to be the 16, the 24, to 182. And the 127, that's going to go to Liberto on that number 3 and that 127. I'm sorry, the 27 of the Big Bacon. 56, 10 intermediate. We got the Hammer, Chelsea Wilson, Brandon Morris, M.J. Gross, Gerald Hart, David Hayden Jr., Logan Weaver, Austin Midkiff, and Samuel Cromartie. Cromartie sitting on that number 2 spot right now as they come around on that number 1. Oh, they are bumping and grinding. That's going to be the 10 bike of Morris and Cromartie at the line. It's going to be the 10. The 74 of Cromartie, followed up by Weaver. And the 6'8 of Gross on that number 3. All right, 57, 11 intermediate. 4 riders out there. Kenzie Transu. We got Raiden Thompson, Nick Preston, Bam Bam, Cooper Collins. They are all bunched up, heading down that 4th straight into that last turn right now. That looks like Super Duper of Bam Bam Collins sitting on that number 1 spot right now. Who they going to be? They are coming down the line. It's going to be that 2-9, that 4-1. Battling it out. It's going to be that 4-1, the 2-9, the 132. That's going to go to the 41 of Thompson on that number 1, the 29 of Kent Collins sitting on that number 2, the 132 of Preston on that 3, and Transu on that number 4 out of 57. 58, 12 intermediate, Braden Bebe. We got the Juice, Justin Avilas, Lucas Sauerman, Sylvia Calabrese, and Evan Boyle. Lucas Sauerman on that number 1 spot on that 370 bike. It's going to be Sauerman sitting on that number 1. We got the Juice sitting on that number 2. The Juice is loose. He's coming after Sauerman. It ain't no sour juice. It's going to be Lucas Sauerman sitting on that top spot. We got the Juice sitting on that number 2. The 30 bike of Calabrese sitting on that number 3. And Evan Boyle for Racer Army sitting on that number 4. 59. 13 intermediates on the track. Gillum, Scottska, Russell, Lehman, Harless, and Transu making moves. That looks like Sia of Russell on that number 1 out of Rocky Point, New York. It's going to be Russell sitting on that top spot. We got Scottska on that number 2 spot as they're heading in and out of that final turn. Coming on down for Sia out of Rocky Point. It's going to be Talon Russell sitting on that top spot, that 3-7 bike. I got that 3-1 of Aiden Scottsko on that number 2, followed up by the 101 of Lehman and the 866 of Jackson Gillum. Motor number 60, 14 intermediate, Luke Pallamore, Joseph Shaw, Christopher Orison, Vance Keenan, the Cody, the Coyote, Oshenska, Kai Archer, and Benjamin Stewart. Stewart leading the pack right now. I see that. That's going to be on 2 wheels. Benjamin Stewart sitting on that top spot on that number 2. They're coming around on that number 1. It's going to be Benjamin Stewart out of Bunker Hill, West Virginia for on 2 wheels. On that number 2, that's going to be the 109 of Pallamore sitting on that 2, followed up by the 101 and the 48. That's going to be Shaw on that number 3. And the Coyote, Cody Ashenska picking up that number 4 in main number 60. Main number 61, 15 intermediate. That's Alex Miller, Ethan Coleman, Jacob Jansen, Big Tasty, Hunter Sparks, Casey Van Teeling, Tyler Perdue, and Ace Angeletti. Jansen on that number 1 for Pedal Pushers Box out of Arnold, Maryland, sitting on that top 1 as they come around that last turn. They are pushing for it, looking for that top spot in 15 intermediate. It's going to be Jansen on that number 1. I got the 655, the 124, and the Gold Cup 3 of the Big Tasty. Sitting on that number 4, we got Alex Miller sitting on that number 2 in the 124 of Casey Van Teeling, sitting on that 3. 62, 17, 20 intermediate. Brandon Smith, Jacob Farmer, the Red Mongoose, Flavio Roca, Ryan Nadler, and Kyle Jamison. Oh, there they go around that third turn right now on that top side. I see I got the Special K of Jameson sitting on that number 3, on that number 1. That's going to be the 922. The 922 of Brandon Smith sitting on that number 1. The Special K making that move. Jameson going to get that 2, the 127 and the 79. All right, Special K getting in on that number 2. I got that 127 of Roca on that number 3, and that 79 of Farmer on that number 4. 63, 26, 35 intermediate. Valdez, we got Boogie Sparks, Joshua Reed, Bobby Miller, Dominique Napoli, Woody Wood, and Kevin Suarez. That's going to be Boogie Clark, I think, on that top side. Yeah, Boogie Clark leading the pack right now as they come around. It's going to be that Kevin Suarez on that number 1. It's going to be the 216 of Suarez, followed up by that 112 of Woody Wood, the 127, and George Sparks on that number 4. 64 is the main number, 41, 45 intermediate. Andrew Bennett, Dale Palmer, Donna Wolford, Len Novak, and Jason Avery. Time to shine, Len Novak sitting on that number 1 out of Las Vegas, Nevada. Len Novak coming around on that top side. Making it stick, coming on down. The track ain't looking horrible for all this rain we're getting. It's going to be that 161 of Len Novak on that number 1. I got that 394 of Wolford sitting on that number 2. I got that 6'9 bike of Jason Avery on that number 3. And the 90 of Dale Palmer sitting on that number 4. 65, 51 and over intermediate. Joey Cassidy. We got Hippie Steve Wisbeski and Kilbilius, David Kubilis. Oh, battle going on. That's going to be Heckler Ryder. Kilbilius on that number 1. He's battling with Cassidy. Oh, these guys know how each other rides. It don't matter the track. They always end up racing together. Oh, he's putting that foot down, trying to save it. He's an old school guy coming around, but right now it's going to be Cassidy on that 1. They're bumping and grinding. It's going to be Kill Bill sitting on that 1. We got Cassidy on that 2. Hippie Steve on that 3. I know. That's going to be total points. It's going to be Joey Cassidy on that 48 bike on that number 1 spot. I got the 88 of Kill Bill on that number 2. And the 111 of Hippie Steve finishing it up for the day. Motor number 66, 7 Girls Expert, Peyton Bruni. We got the Blue Cheetah, Sawyer Smith, Callie Kolpeski. Ride like a girl out there, Peyton Bruni on that number 1 from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She is leading them around that pack. We got the Blue Cheetah sitting on that number 3 spot, and with Callie Kolpeski sitting on that number 2 as they head into that last turn. Oh, 2 of them going down. That's going to be the Blue Cheetah still staying up, going right around them. It's going to be the Blue Cheetah for S-Square National out of Longwood, Florida. Crossing that line on that number 1. This wind just shifted, pushing that rain around a little bit more. But as they come around, it's going to be the Blue Cheetah crossing that line on that number 2. That's going to be that 3 bike of Callie Kolpeski on that number 2. And Bruni sitting on that number 3. In 66, 7 Girls Expert. 67, 8 Girls Expert, Olivia Alvarez. The closer, Callie. Sequoia Gomalicki. and Buggy Tatum Eldridge. Gomalicki on that number 1 spot right now. It's going to be Gomalicki leading around on that number 1 spot right now. It's Gomalicki leading them through for Bay Area BMXer. It's going to be that 3 bike on that number 1 spot right now of Sequoia Gomalicki. Coming across on that number 1, I got the National 5 of Aldrez sitting on that number 2, the 3 bike, and the Nag 9. That's going to be Corchus on that number 3, and Eldridge on that number 4. Main number 68, 9 girls expert. Izzy George, Isabella Stevens. We got Chase Berry and Addison Brindley and Danica Appenzeller. That's Factory S Squared, Isabella Stevens on that number 1 spot right now. As they're heading in it behind that 3rd turn, it's going to be Stevens sitting on that number 1 spot right now. We got Appenzeller sitting on that number 2. Berrien sitting on that number 3 as they come down and around, trying to keep it single file, but they're coming on at it. It's going to be Isabella Stevens on that Nag 2. I got the Nag 4, the Nag 6, and the D of Izzy George picking up that number 4. 69, 10 girls expert. Bobby Gilman, Landon Berrien, the entertainers, Jenna Miller, Christina Patrick, and Kenzie Cafferty. As they're heading in, that looks like Berrien on that number 1 spot right now. It's going to be Landon Berrien. We got Bobby Gilman sitting on that number 2 as they come in and out of that 3rd turn. Christina Patrick sitting on that number 3 as they come around. On that number 1 is going to be Berrien. Cranking it out for Alpha. Down and across that line is going to be Berrien. Miller sitting on that 2, followed up by Patrick. And the 2 of Gilman. 70, 11 girls expert on the track. Peyton Boyd, Mia Custer, the Cannonball, Kate Claridge, Callie Lopez, the Meerkat, Mia Molzan, and Cameron, the Crazy Leg, Searfoss. Coming out of that 2nd turn right now. Oh, we got 1, 2 rolling in the mud right now. It's going to be Custer sitting on that top spot. Me and the Missile Custer on that 1. Callie Lopez sitting on that number 2. Claridge sitting on that number 3 as they come in and out of that last turn. They are holding on strong. It's going to be that Nag 10 of Mia Custer sitting on that top spot. I got Callie Lopez sitting on that number 2 and that Nag 8. I got that 1 bike and the 6. That's going to be Claridge on that number 3 spot. And the Meerkat on that number 4. All right, let's hear it. Oh, it's going to be 1-800 Chaos Rider up and riding it out. That's what you mean, chaos, getting muddy. How we like it. She's going to be cranking it out, too. Let's hear it for her. (71-12) girls expert. Courtney Perry, Sadie Herrera, Brianne Vaughn. We got the TNT, Tristan Pingator, and Not True, Tess Bailey. Oh, she is all nice and muddy. I know where she lives. It's all right. I'll drop her off. All right, on that number 2 spot right now. Or Sadie Herrera sitting on that number 1 as they come around that 3rd turn. That's going to be Vaughn sitting on that number 2. Digging in, it's going to be Sadie Herrera coming in on that number 1 spot. I got that National 54 of Braun sitting on that number 2. It's going to be Vaughn, followed up by that Nag 7 of Bailey. And the Nag 9 of Pingator on that number 4. All right, 72-13 girls expert. They're getting mean. They're getting dirty. We got the Ginger Snap. We got Nails. Miranda Lanudo, Emma Martin, Emily Maurer, Avery Chartrand, Kylie Niederberger, Danica Bailey, and Shelby Elder out there on that number 1 right now. That's going to be Avery Chartrand for Hyper on that top spot as they're going in and out of that 3rd turn. I got Niederberger sitting on that number 2 spot. J&R of Elder sitting on that number 3 as they're heading into that last turn. Coming on strong. It's going to be Chartrand on that number 1. We got Niederberger. Let's hear for Niederberger on that number 2. It's Chartrand on 1. Niederberger, the 10 bike, and the 9 of, it's going to be Elder and Bailey on that number 4. 73-14 expert girls. Kiera Maris, Ava Corley, Ava Yakelson, the movie star, Marissa Lyman, Lady Liberty, Dalton, Pac-Man Nelson, Awesome Sauce Miller, and the Super BMXer. That's going to be Ava Corley on that number 1 on that National 5-0. On that number 2 spot, that's going to be Corley on that number 2 spot. As they come around, it's going to be Ava Corley on that number 1. On that number 2, that's going to be that Nag 2. Followed up by the 3 and the 4. That's going to be that Nag 2 of Nelson sitting on that number 2 spot. That 3 bike of Speraza sitting on that number 3 and that 4 of Liberty Dalton. 74-15-16 girls expert. Roldan, Kappen, Shriver, Hill, Zachary, Schlotterbeck, Pulaski, and Yakelson. That's going to be on that top side. Chloe Kappen coming around on that number 1 on that National 38. It's going to be Chloe Kappen sitting on that top spot. I got Box Rider sitting on that number 2. That's going to be Piper Yakelson picking up that number 2, followed up by the Nag 9. And the 1, that's going to Paige Zachary sitting on that number 3 spot. And Schlotterbeck picking up that number 4. More fun than anything else. 75-17-20 women's expert. We got total points. Ezra Shriver. We got Valentina Davalos and Katie Brink. 2 riders coming around on that number 1. That's going to be Ezra Shriver on that top spot. We got Valentina Davalos. Oh, no, that's going to be Brink on that number 2. As they come down and around, 2 riders going to be coming across that line. That's going to be the Nag 3 of Shriver and the 5 of Davalos. Picking up that number 2. For the day, they're going to that Nag 3 of Ezra Shriver, the 5 of Valentina Davalos, and the 2 of Katie Brink all day long. 76-21-30 women's expert, Devin Murphy, Lexi Alejandre, and Taylor Hunt. Daylight out there on that number 1. That's going to be Devin Murphy sitting on that top spot. Squared right there on that backside. That's going to be Lexi Alejandre. And we got Taylor Hunt for ECC sitting on that number 3. As she comes around that last turn. Out of Connecticut for Daylight Cycles, it's going to be Devin Murphy picking up the 1 all day long. I got the Rock 1 of Lexi Alejandre picking up that number 2, and the A of Taylor Hunt on that number 3 all day long. The Gold Cup 1, the Rock 1, and the A. 77-31-40 women's expert. Another total points right here. We got Lightning Legs, Lisa Webb for 1-800 Chaos. We got Amanda Warner and Stephanie Blackburn on the track. It's going to be Lightning Legs. They're going around the mud. Come on, ladies. Why don't you want to get muddy? It's going to be Lightning Legs on that number 1 spot right now. For 1-800 Chaos, we got Warped of Blackburn sitting on that number 2 spot, and Warner sitting on that number 3 coming around that last turn. Looking at that stripe, it's going to that Nag 4 of Lightning Legs, Lisa Webb, all day long on that number 1 spot. I got Blackburn on the Gold Cup 1 on that number 2 for the day, and the Nag 10 of Amanda Warner on that number 3 for the day. 78-41 and over women's expert, Chrissy Piper, Becky Moore, Christina Sandora, and Mama Marge Kaminsky. As they head around on that number 1. That's going to be that Nag 1 of Chrissy Piper for Jawbreaker Chase sitting on that top spot coming out of Los Angeles, California. I got that 4 bike of Sandora and Becky Moore battling it out into that 3rd turn as they come around. It's going to be Piper sitting on that one. We got Sandora sitting on that number 2 spot. Moore sitting on that number 3. And Mama Marge Kaminsky sitting on that number 4. As they come down that last straight right now, it's going to be the nag one of Chrissy Piper picking up that top spot for Jawbreaker. I got that number 2 spot going to the 4 bike. And the 10 of Becky Moore picking up that number 3. Mama Marge picking up that number 4. 79, 5 and under expert. Here we are, 5 and under expert. We got the Kamikaze, Jacob Colwell, Social D, Racing Grayson Carr. Total points on the track as they come around that third or second turn. That's going to be Kamikaze on that number 1 spot right now. As they head around, it's going to be the Kamikaze sitting on that top spot. Social D sitting on that. Oh. He's down. He's getting back up as they come around. It's going to be Kamikaze sitting on that number 1 spot. Down and across the line for Alpha National Team. It's going to that Nag 5 on that number 1 for the day. I got that 15 on that number 2. Grayson Carr on that Nag 15 going to pick up that number 2 spot. And the Social D going to pick up that number 3. Motor number 86 expert. The Atom Bomb. We got John Kerr, Moto Slayer, Cruzy the Racer, Turtle, Casley, and the GQ Novak. That's going to be that Rock One of Cruzy the Racer on that number 1 spot right now. Cruzy done getting it done up there on that number 1. I got the Moto Slayer sitting on that number 3 as they're heading around that last turn. Coming on down the line, it's going to be that Rock One of Cruzy the Racer for Custom Craft. Coming out of New Mexico on that one, I got that 3-6 of Novak sitting on that number 2. Followed up by the Nag 2 and the Nag 1. '81 is motor number 7 expert is a class. All right. Here they come. We got Bryson Bruns, Clyde the Slide, Santos, Ashton Hester, Logan Custer, Mighty Mouse Graves, David Crishon, Crichton. We got Wyatt Clark and Benny Bryce, the Dynamite. That's Clyde the Slide up there on that number 1 right now. Santos sitting on that top spot. That's going to be Hester sitting on that number 2 as they come down and around. That final turn, we got Santos on that number 1. Nag 3. I got that World 1 of Hester sitting on that number 2 spot. I got that 39 of Crichton and the Nag 13 of the Mighty Mouse the Nag 13 of Bryson Bruns on that number 4. It's only a little dirt. 82 is the moto number 8 expert, is the class out there on that top side. I'm hoping that's the Nag 10. Unfortunately, he's going for it. He's just missed it by 1. We got the Nag 10 up there on that number 1 spot. We got Trumpeter sitting on that number 2 spot. It's going to be the Kid on that number 1 for 1-800 Chaos. Trumpeter sitting on that number 2 as they come around that final turn. It's going to be the Kid, Marshall Werner, the K-Bike of Aiden Trumpeter sitting on that number 2. Oh, we got a mess going on down that last straight, but it's going to be Warner picking up that 1. Trumpeter picking up that 2. I got that 11 bike, the Nag 11 of Cole sitting on that number 3. And the 11 of Stavropoulos picking up that number 4. Just 1 off from taking that sweep for the weekend. But I got to give it, the Kid, a good round of applause. Almost taking that sweep. 83-9 expert on the track right now. Goris, Santos, Ballman, Crane, Greenwell is spelled to Skinner and Kopesky. That's D.D. Ballman up there on that number 1 right now for Factory Answer. Dylan Ballman coming out of Woodland Park, New Jersey, sitting on that number 1 spot right now as they come down and around into that third turn. That's going to be Ballman on that top side. On the inside, trying to make a move, trying to hold it stick. He's got some company as they come down that final straight. That's going to be that 3 bike. I done saw that. That's going to the 3 bike, the Nag 5, the 6, and the 2 of Santos. $84, 10 Expert. Expert. Here we go. We got Logan Outshore, Jacob Lang, Britton Ryan, Spin to Win, Kevin Washington, Tyler Wagner, Brady the King, Hayden the Animal, Passing Easy, and the Zaniacs. Aiden Robinson. Rival Racing sitting on that number 2 spot right now. That's going to be the King sitting on that 2nd spot, trying to get that number 1, but up there on that number 1 spot. That's going to be Lang, I think. As they're coming down, that's going to be that Nag 12 of Wagner. The Nag 12, the Nag 1, the Nag 12, the C, and the Nag 3. That's going to go to Passing Easy on that number 1 spot. I got the Wagner on that number 2, that C bike of Lang sitting on that number 3 spot, and that 3 bike of the King on that 4. 85-11 Expert. Ragel, Hayes, Cole, Rouse, Mendito, Storman, Norman, Sterlinski, and Felker. That's going to be Aiden Ragel on that number 1 spot right now. Felker sitting on that number 2 as they come around that last turn. Felker making a move, trying to get that number 1. It's going to be Felker and Ragel 1 and 2. It's going to go to Felker. Ragel, the 2 and the 17. Uh-oh. 86-12 Expert. It's getting dirty, down and dirty right now. We got Reeder, Allen, Gomalicki, Ryder Lawrence, Tyler Helsel, Caleb McCain, Tommy Broody, and Griffin the Ripper Keller. All right, that's going to be Gomalicki sitting on that number 1 spot right now for Bay Area BMXers. Out of California, it's Gomalicki sitting on that top spot. We got Ryder Lawrence sitting on that number 2 spot as they come down and around. I got that 7 bike. It's going to be that 7. It's going to be that 6. I got that 3 of Bruni and the 13 of McCain on that number 4. 87-13 Expert. Carson Allen, Nolan Colburn, Brady O'Neill, Johnny Tagg. We got GQ Delaney, Sebastian Bettinger, Hot Sauce Martin, and Max Marshall. That's going to be Carson Allen on that number 1 spot right now as they're coming in and out of that 3rd turn. It's going to be Carson Allen on that number 1 as they come around. It's going to be Delaney sitting on that number 2 spot. Allen and Delaney, 1 and 2. I got the Hot Sauce sitting on that number 3 spot. Across that line, they are making it through that mud. It's going to go to the Gold Cup, 1 of Allen. I got Delaney, Martin, and Colburn. 88-14 Expert. Sweet and Smoky, Mason Bruns. We got Deegan Brown, the Assassin, Ronnie Kinn, Mike Bryant, Cassius Fisher, Alejandro Shea, Hayden Boyd, and Andrew Herrera. Right now on that top spot, that's going to be the Assassin, Ronnie Kim, leading them through on that number 1 spot right now. It's going to be Kim sitting on that top spot as they make their way around. Bryant sitting on that number 2 spot right now, but the Assassin sitting on that number 1, coming down and across the line once again with a great weekend. It's going to be Bryant on that 2, followed by the 18 and the Gold Cup 3. That's going to be Boyd picking up that number 3. And Shea on that number 4. 89-15 Expert. Gardner, Haney, Bailey, Mendito, Sterling, Grace, Williams, and Pesaturo. That's going to be Hyper out there on that number 1 spot right now. That's going to be Cutter Williams leading the pack on that number 1. I got S Squared sitting on that number 2 spot. That's going to be Sterling sitting on that number 2 as they come down and around. Williams still sitting on that number 1. We got Powers Bike Shop trying to slide in there. That's going to be Healy sitting on that number 3. But Cutter Williams coming on down for Hyper out of Potomac Falls. Going to be getting that number 1. It's going to Williams, Sterling, Haney, and Gardner. Motor number 90, 16 Expert, Cardwell, Haas, Bramer, Boogie Clark, Charlie Biggs, Christopher Hobby, Blake Powell, and John Robbins. On that backside, is going in, is going out. Oh, all bunched up. We got Hobby going over the fence. Bramer, we got a yard sale. One still standing. Who's it going to be? That's going to be Bramer sitting on that number 1. It's going to be Bramer on that 20 bike, sitting on that top spot right now. Ryan Bramer going to be coming around, sitting on that number 1. Is Hobby all right? He's climbing back over the fence. Let me get a big thumbs up, Hobby. There we go. It's going to be Bramer coming across on that number 1 spot. I got that 3 bike of Robbins sitting on that number 2. And that's C of Biggs sitting on that number 3 spot. Coming down and across. That's going to be that 16 of Matthew Haas. All right, all right, all right. 91, 17, 20 expert. We got Showtime, Nicholas Schwartz, Gonzalo Rengo. We got the new guy, Cam Bramer, the Raptor, Ezra De Leon, Evan Schaefer, Louis Kaminsky, Colin Joyce, and Joseph Leto. The new guy of Cam Bramer out there on that number 1 spot right now. It's going to be Leto sitting on that number 2 as they head around that 3rd street. All right. It's going to be Bramer coming down on that number 1 just like the brother did. He's going to be picking up that number 1. It's going to be Bramer for Supercross getting that 1 Alto sitting on that number 2. I got the 230 and the 96 of Schaefer. That's going to be Rangel picking up that number 3 and Schaefer picking up that number 4 out of 91. 92, 21, 25 expert. The Moose. We got Coleman, Jason Coleman, Terrence Williams, Jason Morgan, Diego Dos Royce, Dan Pardine, Hefino, and Jose Sescoon. Is going to be coming around on that number 1 spot. That looks like Powers on that number 2 of Terrence Williams sitting on that 2nd spot right now. He's got company in that inside. It's going to be El Jefino, but we got the Nag 7 of Coleman sitting on that top spot. It's going to go to the Nag 7, the 2, the Nag 10 of Jefe. Getting that number 3. 93, 36, 40 expert, Oldham Rojas, and Big Wayne Harden. For Power FX Speedco, it's going to be Big Wayne Hardman out of North Fort Myers, Florida. On that number 1 spot right now, coming around for Speedco, or Power FX Speed Company. Oh, sliding out, but keeping it going on that number 1. That's going to be Rojas and Oldham. As they come down and around, that's going to be Oldham on that number 1 spot right now. On that 107, Stephen Oldham getting that top spot. Luis Rojas on that number 2. And Big Wayne Hardman going to be getting back on that bike and riding it out. Big round of applause. 94 is the main number. 41, 45 expert. We got Michael Jones, Mark Jackson, and the Big G, Gilberto De Leon Jr. Jackson on that number 2 spot right now. That's going to be De Leon sitting on that number 1 as they come around out of Glen Allen, Virginia for Rocket Racing. It's De Leon on that number 1. We got Mark Jackson on that number 2 spot. And Michael Jones sitting on that number 3 as they come down that 4th straight. It's still going to be the Big G, Gilberto De Leon Jr. sitting on that number 1, leading them through that last turn. Mark Jackson going to be sitting on that number 2. Michael Jones on that number 3, down and across that line. 46-50 expert. Oh, Diaz going down in the gate. Don't like seeing that. We got 95, 46-50 expert. Jeremy Thompson, Fabian Gonzalez, Drew Miley, Michael Duke, the Hulk, Sean Campbell, Nigel Cummings, and Christopher Diaz. All right, there we go on that top side. That's going to be Jeremy Thompson sitting on that number 1. Looks like Cummings sitting on that number 3 spot. We got Motley sitting on that number 2. As they come in and out of that last turn, it's going to be Jeremy Thompson for Factory Powers Bike Shop picking up that number 1. I got that Nag 7 for Yes of Drew Motley. Nigel Cummings on that Nag 15 and that 31 bike. Fabian Gonzalez picking up that number 4 out of 95. We got our final moto on the track right now. 51 and over expert moto number 96. Jody Adams. We got the Bronx Brahmer, Norbert Lopez, Tom Johnson, Dominic Eric Coates, and Billy Griggs. That's Griggs out there on that number 1 spot right now. Billy Griggs leading the pack right now. Johnson sitting on that number 3 spot as they come in and out. It's going to be Billy Griggs coming out of Anaheim, California on that number 1. That battle for that number 2 spot. It's going to be that 9 bike. Ooh, the 2-2-3 of Johnson. Followed up by Adams and Dominic Eric Coates. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming out to the East Coast Nationals. The rain's gone now. Come on, let's race. Rain's over. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. We had a great weekend. Got it done. Everyone, be safe.
Been dope on flame, I just switched the lanes. Damn, he did it again, I just flipped the pain. Stripping and dipping in bass, slab on everything. Swimming, you sinking away, cause I got big racks coming. I put my low racks on it. I ain't skip past losses, I had to get back off it. See the fit lab on it until they whip my coffin. Money clip, I tossed it, I heard it's big bags on big bags on big bags coming, coming in. Yeah, flex, I just wanna win.
Make your plans for your state championship series today. State championship series are packed with tons of action and determine the overall age group champions in your state. Should you be crowned the #1 rider in your state, age and proficiency group, you'll receive a custom award and a #1 plate. Riders may also earn bonus state points by racing in single-point events. Plus, plates will be awarded for number 2 through 10 based on the number of riders in your age and proficiency group. Visit usabmx.com for details on how you can earn a state number plate.